In this video, I'm going to reveal how much I made in dividends last month, which also happened to be my very best month on record. Since starting my dividend journey, I've been reinvesting almost all of my holdings during this time, and I'm currently doing so with every stock in my portfolio. If you're new or don't normally watch my videos, I'm both a dividend growth investor and an income investor. With the exception of SCHD and also one other holding, all of my investments currently yield a minimum of 4%. The reason I'm making this video is because I hope this will serve as motivation for people who want to build their own income-producing dividend portfolios. I know when I was first starting out in dividends, I really enjoyed watching these kinds of videos to see what could be accomplished through building a dividend snowball. So with that being said, let's start with last month's walkthrough. At the start of every month, the first investments I get dividends from are from my Pimco closed-end funds. I still currently hold the same three funds, which are PDI, PTY, and PCM. In December, I received $55.17 from PDI, $23.84 for PTY, and $21.57 from PCM. Both PCM and PTY haven't gone through a dividend cut in over a decade, and in both instances, the cuts were very small, I think by maybe less than a penny. PDI to date has never gone through a distribution cut, but according to Pimco, they've been having a little difficulty covering the full distribution in 2023. So we'll be watching to see if they are able to fully make it to the end of next year before cutting their dividend. As interest rates hopefully get cut soon, it should provide the holdings inside these funds with some relief if they can hopefully make it through without a dividend cut. Also paying out on the first was Enbridge, which is the only Canadian company in my portfolio. Because of this, a portion of the dividend was automatically withheld for tax purposes. I've been building up my position in this stock a little more aggressively than others, so right now I'm currently collecting $47.29 a quarter. Plus they also issued this additional dividend in my account for some reason for 11 cents. One more stock that also issues dividends at the start of every month is PennantPark Floating Rate Capital, ticker PFLT. They're a BDC that's been paying monthly distributions without any cuts for well over a decade at this point, although their payout ratio has been creeping up close to 100%. Earlier this year, I was a little more aggressive in buying shares of this company because I had the goal of making $50 a month from this stock. After I had accomplished this, I moved my sight onto other stocks, all the while choosing to reinvest my dividends back into it. It's now built its way up to $52.92 a month. On December 6th, I received my dividends from my investment in JEPI. I still have just a very small position in this ETF compared to a lot of other stuff in my portfolio. This month I received $12.79 from it. I also just bought into a new position a couple weeks ago that'll start paying dividends around this exact same time starting this month. Moving forward, on the 11th, the next investment that paid me was SCHD, which is my diversified dividend growth ETF. I've always been an advocate for the idea that whether you're a dividend growth investor or an income investor, or both, you should always hold at least one growth ETF in your portfolio. My favorite has always been SCHD, but there's a lot of other great options that exist, including Vanguard's VIG and VYM, and then there's also SDY and DGRO. Holding one of these ETFs will help ensure that your dividends will keep growing when you're living off the distributions, even if you're not reinvesting them. Even if you hold stocks that are well known for consistently growing their dividends over time, they usually don't grow their dividends as fast as some of these growth ETFs. SCHD's 5-year dividend growth rate is 13.05% according to Seeking Alpha. For comparison, the 5-year dividend growth rates of some other popular dividend growth stocks like Colgate, Procter & Gamble, and Walmart are 2.85%, 5.63%, and 1.85% respectively. The only downside to SCHD is that it pays quarterly dividends and not monthly, but it's still definitely a worthwhile investment. This quarter I received $31.83 from it, which isn't anywhere close to ideal or being what I'd like to receive from it. I'll likely target this ETF a lot heavier this year. Another downside though is that it does yield less than 4%, so it takes a very large investment to receive a worthwhile amount of dividends from it. Moving on to the 15th, I collected $55.76 from Main Street Capital. Just like PennantPark, I also targeted this investment for a while until I was receiving $50 a month before moving on to other investments. Also on the 15th, I had Blue Owl Capital Corporation pay a special dividend, not their normal quarterly distribution. It was announced back on November 8th that OBDC would be paying shareholders an additional dividend of 8 cents per share. Their normal quarterly dividend of 35 cents per share is still expected to pay out in January. For the special dividend, I received $59.43. Also paying a special dividend on this date was Gladstone Investment Corporation. On October 24th, they announced that the stock would be paying a special dividend of 88 cents per share. This was because they recently sold out of one of their investments for a huge gain, and as a result, they'd be paying investors a special dividend that far exceeds anything they typically pay. Unfortunately, Gain was one of my smallest holdings, but I still received $80.01 from this dividend payment. This was also the day Realty Income paid their monthly dividend. Their stock has finally started to rally as of late October because of optimism surrounding interest rates having peaked. When the Feds had their final meeting for last year and they announced potential interest rate cuts this year, that only sparked more optimism for their stock. This month I received $112.30, and it's currently the highest paying monthly dividend in my portfolio. But also on the 15th was the distribution from one of my lowest paying monthly stocks, which is Stag Industrial. Stag has been a really excellent grower over the years in terms of share price performance. Their dividend growth, on the other hand, has been pretty bad. They have a 5-year dividend growth rate of just 0.7%, and they tout never having a dividend cut in their history. But you can see this company only grows their dividend by a fraction of a penny per year. I guess I shouldn't complain about any dividend growth, no matter how small, but it would take a lot of this stock to live off the dividends. The largest amount of growth I've seen from this stock has come from its share price gains, but at this point I'm still earning a little over $8 per month from this company. They've also never made a special dividend payment, which is too bad. Moving on to the 20th, and 6th Street Specialty Lending paid a special dividend of 7 cents per share. Just like a lot of other BDCs, TSLX has been paying a lot of these special dividends because of the number of floating rate loans that they carry. From this special dividend, I received $15.19. Up next on the 20th, I received my monthly distribution from the NEOS S&P 500 High Income ETF, ticker SPYI. I've continued to be pleased with this ETF so far, despite being a newer holding in my portfolio. The share price has remained stable, and its dividend yield has consistently been over 12%. Plus, it has some additional features that allows it to experience more upside during bull markets. It won't outperform the actual S&P 500 over time, but up to this point, the monthly income has been really good. NEOS is actually planning to launch a high-income ETF for the Nasdaq, so I'll be keeping my eye on that too. This month I received $32.78 from it. On the 27th, I got another dividend payment from Main Street Capital, this time a special dividend, which was for a much higher amount of $65.61. On the 28th, I received my quarterly dividend payment from Ares Capital, which is my largest dividend payment. This time I received $363.22, which was $8.53 more than my last dividend from Ares Capital. Because I reinvested the dividends and didn't buy any additional shares outside of that, it's just been snowballing that extra amount. And then finally on the 29th, I saw 10 additional dividend payments come in on this day, which might be a new record. First was my payment from the Reeves Utility Income Fund, UTG, which is a monthly paying closed-end fund that holds utilities. This month it paid me $21.75. Also on this day was the other dividend from 6th Street Specialty Lending, this time for $99.80. After that, I got 2 more payments from Oaktree Specialty Lending Corporation, one for being their regular distribution and the other being a special dividend. The regular distribution amount was for $147.13. The special dividend was for $18.73, which was a decent amount that I certainly won't complain about. On the last business day of the month, I also received my distribution from my money market account. Whenever you want to buy a security in a Vanguard account, you first have to transfer the funds from your bank into your money market account. For this, the money goes into VMFXX, which is the Vanguard Federal Money Market Fund. It's kind of like a high-yield savings account, but it's not FDIC insured and the yield changes daily. Fortunately, it's very rare for a money market fund to fail. I don't recall where I read this, but out of the thousands that exist, only a couple have ever failed. But because it only serves as a temporary holding place for my money, it doesn't stay in there too long. In December, I received just 23 cents from it. On this day, I also received my main dividend payment from Gladstone Investment of just $7.23. Next, I received my dividend payment from Triple Point Venture Growth, ticker TPVG. This BDC invests in a lot of startups, which is very similar to Hercules Capital, which I also own. But unlike Hercules Capital, with Triple Point Venture Growth, I haven't been too pleased with their recent results. Although they have been increasing their dividends, their net asset value has been suffering worse than what I was expecting. Still though, as interest rates remain high, this company's continued to far exceed their earnings expectations. This quarter I received $142.84 from TPVG. I also got 2 dividends from Capital Southwest, with one being a special dividend. One was for $42.14 and the other being for $4.44. Finally, the last dividend payment I received was from DIVO, which is the Amplified CWP Enhanced Dividend Income ETF. It's another small investment of mine that's had a really decent amount of growth on top of a yield of almost 5%. This dividend was for $8.62. And that was every dividend payment I received last month, which if you add everything up comes out to $1,530.92. It was a great way to end the year, and again I hope you can see why I like investing for dividends. Rather than trying to pick good growth stocks, I much prefer holding investments that provide me with steady cash flow. It's just my preferred method of investing that I think more people should consider. But with that being said, that's going to conclude today's video. If you're interested, feel free to check out my Patreon where you'll find an Excel sheet of all of my holdings updated monthly. Plus, it'll give you access to our Discord channel where we discuss higher yielding types of investments. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you liked what you saw, then feel free to hit that like button below and click subscribe if you want to see higher yielding investing strategy content. Again, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and until next time, take care.